welcome back to Grow Ahead. And this is going to be our third episode today. And we're going to talk about our own health journeys, stuff we face, what it means to be healthy, and how to invest in your health.
Yeah, good morning, everybody.
Yeah, this is different for us because normally we film in the afternoon or night, and today we're filming during the day. So it's a change for both of us.
Yeah, it's actually kind of nice. So it's a little bit quiet around here. I didn't have to go to my office today. So
Yeah, it's good. It works out better.
yeah, this might have to be our new thing. Except I don't know how it is there today, but here it is freezing. It's like 16 below. So
Oh, yeah, it's like -4 here.
yeah, it's horrible. So I am not happy about that, but that's okay. I have my coffee, see, in my Golden Girls cup. So all right, you can go ahead and start.
Alrighty. Um, so different health issues that I face, or things that I went through, started early on, like in my life, and I would go through these different things and didn't know why I was going through it or like what it meant. And around 12 is when I started throwing up like bile really bad and just having this pain in my side, and I didn't know what it was. And it would only last like a day or two, and then it would just go away for like another year or so. And then it started to progress, and it would be every 6 months, and then it would start happening even sooner than that. And then I'm like, this isn't right. And then it wasn't until New Year's of, when was that, 2011, I want to say. And I had drank a Monster, and later on in the night, it was like the pain had just gotten so bad. And um then I just told my mom, and I was just like, I think we need to go to the ER. Like, it's just too bad. And it's we went there, and they had told me, like, there was something wrong with my kidney, and like they didn't know what at the time. They're just like, something's wrong. It might be stones, it might be this. And I'm like, okay. And so, we go to the doctor and everything, and um they tell me that like my kidney, I was born with like a deformed kidney where it doesn't drain properly. So one kidney, would drain normally and all come out, and like liquid it would hold and whatever. And essentially what the other one was like is like, filling up a water balloon, but instead of releasing it, it's holding on to all
Okay,
that. So
what's that called? Do they have a
uh,
name?
yeah, they call it like hydronephrosis, like when it does that, like where you're holding in liquid, or and it starts to like swell, so to speak.
Okay.
And but it wasn't until, yeah, that same, going into 2012 now, where they started doing more tests and different things, and then, they were like, you need to have surgery. Like, this isn't, it's not functioning properly, and you're not, able to process different wastes and different things. Like, it's not filtering through. Um, so I was 16, and I got this surgery, and the surgery was only supposed to take 8, maybe 9 hours at the most. It took 13.
Oh my
And
goodness.
yeah, my mom was just, she was at the hospital, but she just, yeah, at that point was just like, like, what's going on? Like, trying to get a nurse or the,
Sure.
somebody to figure out like that shouldn't take this long.
Right. So what do you know what they had to do to your, did they have to remove part of your kidney? Like what did that surgery look like? Do you know?
So it was the robotic surgery. So it, like, in terms of incisions and stuff like that, it wasn't as bad as, getting like your whole side opened up or anything like that.
Sure.
But they told me the part of the reason it had taken so long was because like a normal kidney, is smaller or whatever, and because of how swollen and just like damaged it was getting, it was like the size of a softball, like inside, on one of my sides. So they were like, we had to get, you know, really figure out like what's going on. And then, so I guess what they did was they took the ureter, which is, the part that is connected to the kidney, and the bottom, sort of, it looks like a tube.
Right.
And so they were saying they had to reroute it to where it would drain.
Okay.
Like as normal people, it would just, drain the way it is. Like mine, they had to do all this stuff. And then, they had to put clips and different things in to keep it in place. And then they put a stent in as well to try to drain some of that. And then I go back, for a follow up after all that, and they take the stent out, and they're like, hopefully this will fix this, and it just got worse from there. And uh, I went to a different doctor at that point, and they didn't want to touch me just because they saw in like X-rays and stuff. They're like, there's still clips in here, like. And I don't know if they were supposed to stay there or they weren't, and like that it was all messy, and like I didn't know um what you go into a doctor, or you go into surgery or anything, and you think, you go in there hoping like this doctor went to school, you're trusting that they know what they're doing, and that they're going to lead you down the right path. And
Right.
so at the time, like our insurance wasn't good, and they didn't take, yeah, like send you to good doctors or anything like that. It was just, what was available, who, offered certain things and whatever. So it, it more or less was just frustrating because, you know, I'm in pain, I'm going through these things, I don't know what's going on. And like, they kind of were just like after that surgery, like we don't know what to do. And so, yeah, I went to the next one, and then with that one, they told me they had to. There was a vein or an artery, like going across like where it was supposed to drain, and so they had to like reroute that and move that, and then it was like just the worst surgery, and it was worse with the recovery and moving around and everything. It was just like no one feels great after surgery, but this was just like wow, like I just I'd rather just be asleep at this point.
Yeah. Did they, was that something where they like physically had to like cut you open and go in to do, or was that also, more robotic?
That one was robotic too.
Okay.
And like the worst parts of it were like the stent, like and just like dealing with that and trying to, use the bathroom with the stent and getting it removed, and like, it almost caused more pain like having the stent in, but I got that, it was supposed to help drain everything.
Yeah. And not to interrupt, but I just wanted to say, like, for anyone who's listening that doesn't know exactly what kidneys are supposed to do, they're supposed to take any toxins that are in your body, and it's, the kidneys are essentially a great big filter. And so, when your kidneys aren't working properly, you're not getting toxins, because we're all exposed to toxins all the time. So whether they're from our outside environmental, like, the air, the soil, whatever, water, or stuff that we're using in our own homes, laundry detergents, certain foods that we eat, all of those things, everything that you use can have toxins in it. And so the kidneys are supposed to like be your big filter and get those out of your body. So if they're not working right, I mean, that can cause all kinds of health issues. So, you had the kidney stuff going on. Were you suffering from other health issues, like maybe joint pain, or whatever it might be, because your one kidney wasn't functioning properly?
So I didn't have, I guess, a joint pain. It was just like I could tell like certain things, or like right before it would stop, like or having an episode or something, it would like being dehydrated, because like even in like getting like drier skin or acne or different things, because it just it wasn't getting enough hydration in, like with the kidney, because it's just holding on to all this waste, it's not getting anything new. And
Yeah.
so I noticed that, and then it was just certain foods and different things I would notice would make like the pain worse, or make it feel like stabbing or like a jabbing pain. It would and so like having a lot of salt, or having red meat and certain things, like just it would really just aggravate it. And so I got to a point where I was just like, no matter how good this tastes or whatever, it's just not, it doesn't make me feel good anymore.
Right. So when was your last, are those the only two surgeries you've had, for your kidney, or have you had more stuff since then?
So I think like major surgeries, I've had like four, and then the other ones, like maybe five or so, were like minor ones where it's just like putting in the stent and like that's all they're doing kind of thing or stuff like that. But the other ones were like, hours long or, extensive, so to speak. So I guess
Right.
I'm lucky in that way that it wasn't more of those like extreme surgeries.
Sure. So, when we're not feeling good, right? That can wear down. Last week we talked about mental health that can break down, your mental health quickly. Did like what kinds of things, you know, did you go through because of you, and you were going through this at a young age? So, like, how did that affect your life as a teenager? Were you missing a lot of school? Were you, you know, like what other ways did the kidney issues affect your life?
So the kidney issues, like school is a big part of it, and um, it got to a point where it was like either because of appointments or surgeries and stuff. Like, I was already, getting pulled away from school and stuff. So we had to set up, how they phrased it. It's like where you do school at like home, but obviously for whatever reason, like sickness or whatever, and they kind of work with you. But it felt like terrible because it was happening during my junior and senior year. And so, I didn't get to do a lot of things like, senior picnic or um even, graduate on stage, with everyone else. And so, now, people can kind of relate to that, in the last year or so that, because of COVID and not being able to do that. And so in that way I kind of relate to those people right now because it does suck. And when, especially when you put all this work in and you were involved in clubs or activities and whatever, and you can't showcase that, and you can't be, show everyone, hey, I'm proud I did it, and it sucks.
Yeah. So one of our kiddos graduated in 2020, and there was no graduation. I definitely think so. I think they were definitely disappointed in there not being a graduation. I think your situation might be a little bit harder because everyone else was graduating and like going on stage or whatever. Like at least these guys, it was a collective. No one got to, and
Right.
um, so I definitely can understand why like that would be, difficult to you're watching, all your friends and whatever, and you just didn't get you don't have the same memories of graduation that everybody else did. So I feel bad that you were going through all that. Um, I probably say this in every single one of our episodes, but you are seriously one of the most positive people I've ever met. Like, anyone who just knows you personally and they're, on Facebook, every day you're posting things to motivate other people. You're making video. You're just always, like, even on bad days, you're looking at the bright side of things. So, um, how how did you get to that point? Like, what made you decide, like, I'm not going to let this, you know, um, like all of these things that are happening, like break me and get me down? Like, what was that? What did that look like for you? Like, how did you determine, like, no, I'm going to keep choosing this instead?
So I guess I had to like go through more of the kidney stuff and like surgeries and everything like that. And it was hard to like not, being there for school and being there to graduate and stuff. And, even after that, I was hit with more bad news and, going to school, now wasn't a thing that I thought I would be doing. Um, and then so I was trying to find a job, in the midst of, between surgeries and all this stuff. And it was just, and nobody wanted to hire me. And they were like, well, you've had this many surgeries, how do you know, or how do we know that this won't be an issue, or this is going to be something that comes up. And I'm like, and I told them just, honestly, like even me, I don't know, like, and all I can tell you is, this is the person I am. And I've, despite everything I've been, faced with and all the challenges, like it's still important to keep going. And like, yeah, maybe my situation isn't the same as everyone else's, but I guarantee you that I'm still going to work just as hard, if not harder, to, prove that to you.
Right. Over, it might even be longer, but definitely over the past year, even just watching you on social media, you have made a complete transformation. Like you can tell that you've just taken control of your overall wellness. And can you talk about things that you've been doing differently and how you're feeling today versus how you felt even a couple of years ago?
Yeah, a few years ago, like I think with what was going on health wise, what was going on socially, or lack of, social stuff, just because of everything going on, and, family things and different situations. I did at one point just feel, like, not why is this happening, but just, like have I proved like my worth, I guess. And like, have I done enough to get to where I need to be? And like, in those moments where you're faced with, like, you're like, I'm putting in all this work, I'm doing all this, the right things, like, why is nothing, working out? And it took me, being sort of like resourceful and sort of just trying to figure out and pinpoint, okay, well, what can I change? What am I doing right now that, like, I could do differently? Like, maybe changing this one thing will make this thing better. And it's, just trying to like figure out and, pick at different things. Like, okay, maybe if I change um watching this kind of content, or watching um how this person is towards someone else, or instead of like focusing in on, all the times I've been in the hospital or whatever, like what about all the good days I had? So I guess it's a little bit of self-reflection, but also um just kind of choosing to, make changes. And like, sometimes you don't know what those changes are, if they're right or they're wrong, but you got to like just try it and see if that'll, make a difference in your life.
Absolutely. And are you feeling better like today, you know, on a regular basis?
Yeah. So I used to like, almost even after all the surgeries and everything, like I would still, like, almost maybe weekly, if not bi-weekly, like feel like, some kind of kidney pain. And it was just there, but there was like no reason or anything. And, when I really started looking at what I was eating, and um, even taking this cleanse that I started a few months ago, and it has like apple cider vinegar and other, natural things in it, like peppermint, and like those things like help. And like apple cider vinegar, is good for detoxing and doing different things to your body. So, and once I started that type tarking taking that, um, yeah, like on a regular basis, where it was, like weekly, and, you know doing that, like that helped too, because it was like I'm putting more of the good things in, and, you know what I mean, instead of putting more bad stuff in.
Absolutely. And like you said earlier, of course, there's a lot of things that taste fantastic, but everything that we put into our bodies, on our bodies, they do one of two things. They either feed disease or they fight disease. And so it's very important to make sure that, in order to get like to your goal, like whatever your overall wellness picture looks like, you have to make sure that you're choosing things, that fit what that looks like. So, of course, French fries probably taste way better than Brussels sprouts. I love Brussels sprouts, but to most people, probably not. But picking the Brussels sprouts has so many more advantages, to your body systems and how they work. And of course, like I said, French fries taste great, but you kind of have to choose like either way you're picking your hard, right? So it's either hard to um live because you're in pain and suffering through all of these things, and you're eating the foods that you want, or you're picking your hard of getting rid of the things that taste great all the time or whatever, but are choosing things that make you feel better. So like choosing your hard, which one are you going to do? Well, obviously you've picked like, I want to feel good, because even though French fries taste great, or, you know, not exercising is more fun, or, whatever it might be, it was affecting your social life and your, just how you felt about yourself, and wanting to get up and go do things, and it was affecting it on so many levels. You were having a difficult time socializing with your friends, you were having a difficult time finding a job, you were like, all of that plays a role, in how you think of yourself. And then, your thoughts can completely change your health as well. So, I just from watching, I'm so proud of just from the exercises that you've been doing and the way that you've been eating or whatever, you physically can see the change in you. So your body has changed. You can tell that you're even more peppy than you were before. Like, you just, um, yeah, you have done a lot of work, and I'm sure, everyone who's super close to you is proud of you too. So, yeah, it's been amazing to watch you go on this journey. So, as hard as it might be, you are definitely a great inspiration to other people. So, I hope anyone who is going through some of that can reach out to you, and, even just ask, like, what are the specific things that you've done? Because I think you definitely can help people with that. So, way to go.
Thank you. I feel like you're always just like not too nice to me, but you're just too kind. Like,
It's true. You'd put in the hard work. Like, you really did. Like, it has been, I mean, it's noticeable. It's like hugely noticeable. So I just go click on, some of your posts and pictures from, even a year ago. Even though you were still very positive and whatever, it, your journey has just like taken that to a whole new level. It's just amazing to watch. So definitely celebrate that. So, and you haven't had to have surgeries or anything like that. Like, it's been nice to see you staying out of the hospital. I mean, with COVID going on and all that kind of stuff, I mean, you've been really healthy. And, I'm not saying you haven't had any days that have been bad, but in comparison, definitely a difference. And that is fantastic. Not a lot of people have that in them to truly take hold of that. So,
well, and even with um like management of pain and stuff, like even that changed and when I was going through everything versus now. And around that same age, 16 was just like this whole year of just being exposed to all these like answers that I guess I was looking for or didn't know. And like it was being told, you have anxiety, you were born with a deformed kidney. And then and then I got hit with you have spondylolisthesis. So and that is just it has to do with your spine, and like the discs are like not aligned, and so it can push into nerves and do different things, and sometimes it can curve. And so like especially when I was younger and in schools, those awful metal desks where the little chair connects, like it was just terrible.
yeah. So have like, from the exercising and the change in diet and all that kind of, has that helped pain with that? Like, is that reduced?
I noticed like pain overall, like throughout my body, is not as bad as it was like even 5 years ago. So I think it has helped. And like I got this like it's like a ball thing. It's like it looks like a ring kind of, but like it's nothing's in the middle or anything. It's just a ring. And
Yeah.
it helps with like stretching and yoga and stuff. And so I'll just like lay backwards and it kind of stretches my back out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Sorry, my dog has been in pain. We're gonna have to edit that out. Sorry. Yeah. So, and like, so you sit on that, and that has helped too.
Yeah,
That
and
helped your posture.
yeah, and so even with posture, because I like because of those chairs in school and like just other, me just like slouching over sometimes, like I got this it's like a back brace, but not, it's like a Velcro like thing that like you put,
Oh,
it's almost like putting on a backpack with like um the little what do you want to call those? They're like
uh,
straps, I guess.
yeah. And
Yeah,
then
and
they
like
tighten.
yeah, and then like you can either like in the front or the back like tighten it, and it's got like a cushiony things, but it like helps with posture, and it was like $20 or something, but it's helped.
Oh, that's fantastic. I didn't even know that existed. So very nice. Yeah, that's one of the things that I always try and work on. I've always been a sloucher, so I'm always like that. I think that got like just drilled into me sitting in school, bored all the time. But so now I'm constantly trying to work on it, and like I have to like physically remind myself, nope, sit up straight. um, so um, with you were saying that by changing, diet and all that kind of stuff, it has just taken your overall wellness. And you were honest in saying, like, I might not be pain free all the time, but it's definitely, you know, it's made enough of a difference where it's worth it to me. And I think so many people need to hear that there might not be miracle cures out there, and you might not feel fantastic all day every single day, or that you know it took your body a long time, and like it wasn't acting properly for a long time. It doesn't happen overnight, to start to feel better or to be on this like better path. And so I think people just need to hear, like, don't give up. Like, these changes will start to make a difference. And um uh you know one of the things that you said, before, we're talking about the doctors and whatever. If I so I work with, I mentioned it in the last podcast. I do a support group for families who either the people have HSP or their kids have HSP, which is an autoimmune disorder. One of the things I tell them all the time is, do not be afraid to question doctors. I understand they went to a lot of schooling, and they're very, very intelligent, but they don't know everything. With as many things that are out there, it's probably close to impossible to know every single one of them. And um, you know, like, if one doctor is viewing things in this way, based off of things that they've seen or learned or whatever, um, just questioning them can get them to either talk to other doctors or look into things from a different point of view. And every single person's body is different, and so you might have a list of symptoms that are all similar to somebody else, but like at the same time, you know just having that, um like the insight, your body. And so I think so many people are terrified to ask questions of doctors. And um it's not a disrespect thing. It's not, um you know rude or anything like that. It's just, it is okay to question. And so do your own research, like every time you go in to an appointment. So like, my personal like big health scare, I have been a very, very healthy person my whole entire life. I've like really haven't taken lots of medications or anything like that. And then in November of 2019, actually, I probably started in about October. Um, I got really sick. I don't get colds very often, but I got really sick. And um, it kind of took me back. So when I was a little kid, I used to get bronchitis really easily. So like that part of my life, like it was like every winter I just knew I was going to get bronchitis. I don't know why. I was an asthmatic, sort of, like I wasn't like a regular asthmatic, but like when I would get a cold, it would, um, you know, kind of trigger that. But that was like the only thing that I ever really dealt with, growing up. And once I hit, I don't know, maybe 13 or something like that, it stopped. And like ever since then, and like I just really haven't had any issues. And like I was saying, I don't get colds or anything. So in October of 2019, I got this horrible cold. And uh, like I was sleeping like 22 hours a day. I could barely breathe. It was off. So I went to the doctor and they were like, you have pneumonia, which was just odd. You know, they gave me antibiotics. It did not go away. I had to go back in again. It was the third round of antibiotics. They also gave me, well, they gave me like a Z pack, but then they gave me something else, like a steroid or something. And that's when I started to feel better. But you know, I was sick for probably almost a month. Like it was bad. And I got better and I went back to work, you know, and I just kind of thought like, you know, maybe my body was finally catching up with the fact that we had just gone through Cody being really sick. So the year before he had was diagnosed with his autoimmune disorder. And so I thought, you know, maybe my body's just broken down, you know, from all the stress of that and whatever. And so like maybe that's why I got sick. And I went back to work and I was suffering from these horrible headaches. But like sometimes when I get stressed, I definitely am like a migraine, like I can feel like a migraine or whatever. It doesn't happen very often or whatever, but this headache was just very different. It was in a specific spot on my head, and the pain was so unbearable. Like I I don't know. I've given birth to children without pain meds. I have a tolerance for pain. Like I can handle. This was horrible. And like I kept working or whatever, but I was in tears. I was like physically crying at work because it was so bad. Like the light hurt it, like, but it wasn't like it was one spot in my head. Like I went to the when Chad took me into the doctor because my mom called Chad and she was like, "You need to take her in. I don't know what's going on." And you know, they just treated me for a migraine. They're like, "Oh, you've had a migraine in the past, like, you know, once." So it's a migraine. And they gave me, I don't like taking medicine. They gave me this migraine cocktail and of course, it made the pain go away. Like, I think it had morphine in it. Of course, the pain went away. And they sent me home. And as soon as the pain meds started to wear off, it was there and it was bad. And Chad wanted to take me back in. So the very next day he was like, "We're going back in." And I was like, "No, they're just going to tell me it's a migraine. They're going to give me pain meds. No, I don't want pain meds. I just want this to go away. I'm not going back in." So the Thanksgiving of that year, we were at my sister's house and my head was so bad. And normally we spend the night and whatever, we just kind of hung out for a little bit. And then he's like, "Well, you know, we're going to go home." He's like, "I'm taking her into the ER." And he took me into the ER, and thankfully the person who was like in the ER that day, you know, they were like, "Well, look, you know, you've been dealing with this for a while, so you know, we're going to do some other tests." And Chad was very like, you know, "Please do as many tests as you can." You know, he was totally advocating for me, and thank goodness that he did, because they wound up doing an MRI and they found a blood clot in my brain. So the blood clot is in a very rare place. So most people get blood clots in arteries, mine's in a vein, and it's in a rare spot in my brain. So not very many people get them where mine is at. Since it's in a vein, they cannot operate. It'll definitely cause like brain damage if they do. Um, so I went from being someone who doesn't have to take medicine ever to now I'm on a blood thinner. And they originally put me on just a low dose blood thinner. They sent me home. Um, you know, I was in there overnight or whatever. They did some tests and They sent me home, and the pain in my head was getting worse. And so Chad took me, he's like, now that we know what it is, I'm not screwing around. He's like, we're going back. And they did a CAT scan and another MRI. And in like 3 days, it had grown in size, even though I was on a blood thinner. So they admitted me into the hospital, and I was there for about a week. And I was on a heavy duty blood thinner that I forget what it's called, but you only can be on it in the hospital because they really have to monitor you. So they had me on it for a week and like just trying to get everything under control before they can send me home. And then when they finally released me, they I had to start taking warfarin, so they had to bridge me from the blood thinner that I was on in the hospital to the warfarin. So Chad had to give me shots in my stomach when we got home of the bridging blood thinner, which I felt so bad for it. Like I couldn't do it myself. I could never be diabetic. I would die. I could never be a drug addict. Like I couldn't give it to myself. It was horrible. So he was so gentle, and he like did all the shots. I had to do them a few times a day. Like it just sucked. But so I was on warfarin for a long time, but um my team of doctors, so like I had a hematologist and I have a nephrologist, and um uh like I truly have a great team. I really like my team of doctors. But like I was telling my hematologist, I was like, because when you're on warfarin, you have to get your blood levels checked constantly. So once they get it stable, your dosing stable, then like once it's stabilized, you can slow down how often you're going in. And I had to get mine checked once a week, because if they made any adjustment, like, so my blood level had to be between 2 and 3. And if they made like the smallest adjustment, a half a pill, anything like that, um, I would drop below 2. And then if they increased it by half a pill, I would go up above 4. And like they just could not keep me between 2 and 3. So I wasn't allowed to eat any green vegetables, because vitamin K plays a role in how your blood thinner works. And so I wasn't allowed to eat green vegetables. And like that, I love, that kind of food. And so I was just like, this is just awful. And so I had to be on it for almost, well, it was about 8 months. And then they let me switch. They did another MRI and saw that it hadn't grown in that 8 months. And so then they allowed me to switch. And so now I'm on Xarelto every day, which is a low dose, and I can eat, my vegetables and whatever. But ultimately, they're just waiting for the clot to affix itself inside my vein, so that it can't move anymore. And that takes a little bit of time. And I never knew that that was even possible. Like, because that was one of my biggest fears, was like, oh my goodness, what if this moves? My brother had a stroke from a clot in his brain when he was 14. And like once in a while, I see people say things like, oh my goodness, like, I have these symptoms going on, but my doctor said that, someone this young can't have a stroke. Like it's impossible. I'm like, it's not impossible. Like I've physically have seen that happen. So um, clearly there's some sort of clotting disorder in our family. But uh, it's just a thing of like making sure that you are staying on top of everything. But when I first was diagnosed with it, I had that, like you were saying before, like the questioning of like, why is this happening? Like I don't smoke. Like I do all the right things. Like, why is this happening? And Chad, one day we were in the car. I was going through a hard time. Like I literally, when I first was diagnosed, I literally cried for a few days, because of course, like, I mean, I'm a mom, and I was like, if I die, like what the hell? My kids need me. And so it was really hard on me, like for a few days. And just being in and out of the doctors and the hospitals and whatever. um like one day Chad fell asleep on the couch. We had just gotten home from the hospital. It was like 2 a.m. He fell asleep on the couch next to me. And like I just lost. I was crying, and he like woke up and he's like, "Oh my goodness, like is everything good? Do we need to go back?" And I was like, "No, like I just like why is this happening? And like why do I have to deal with this and whatever." And he posed a question and he was like, "Okay." He's like, "Tell me what answer someone can give you to the why is this happening that makes it okay with you that it is happening." He's like, what answer could you get where you're like, "Oh, okay, like I get it." And I'm like, "But there isn't one." He's like, "Then stop asking the why." He's like, "Stop torturing yourself with that." He was like, "There's not an answer at all, no matter what." He was like, "That you're going to get where you're like, oh, okay, no, I totally get it. That's fine, whatever." He was like, "You need to focus on like what we're going to do to make sure that going forward, we're doing all the right things to, support your body and to, whatever." And that conversation changed my outlook on it completely. And, I was so thankful that he was being different than like everyone else was like, "Are you okay? Are you like, what can I do?" Whatever. Like I didn't have answers for that. Like, I was scared and, like as kind as people were being, like, there's nothing you can do. Like I didn't even know what to do for myself. And so when he posed that question, it just totally, I was like, "You're right." And so I started doing a bunch of research. I talked to my friend who's an ER doctor, and she's an ER doctor, so she's very big on modern medicine, but she's also into natural medicine. And so like I was talking to her, and she was like, "I have something I want you to try for your headaches." It was an essential oil because like I can't take, because I'm on a blood thinner, I can't take ibuprofen, and I can't take a lot of the I can't take over the counter cold medicine because that messes with my blood thinner. And so, if your blood uh, can't coagulate, and say you cut yourself shaving, you literally could bleed out in like when you're on a blood thinner. Like, so you have to be really careful. So you can't take other things that have thinning agents in them. So, a lot of that stuff is just off, like I can't touch it. And so she was like, "I have something I want you to try." And it's an oil called an essential oil called Past Tense, and it's a blend. It has like peppermint and eucalyptus and whatever in it. And I am not kidding. Like, you rub it on your spot. It's like I can put it directly where it hurts. I can put it on the back of my neck, and it's like tingly and fantastic. And it helps, and it's amazing. And it just opened my door to like, yeah, I can take my modern medicine that my doctor's prescribing, but I can also do these other things that can help me. And by incorporating these things into my daily life, like I take some supplements and I take my vitamins and whatever. And I have finally gotten to a point, like I was suffering from headaches because the clot's still there. I was suffering from headaches every day, like, and they would be like disabling. They were so bad. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't get off the couch. Like I had to sleep. It was the only way that I felt any relief. And I, as a mom, and especially as a mom, but just in general, I don't like the feeling like they would give me painkillers, like uh, oxycodone or whatever it is. They would give that to me. Well, I can't take that. Like, I can't be like a zombie and take care of my children, like, and it would
Oh,
mess me up,
I'm glad
so
you brought that up because like that's even with like surgeries or different, pain, whatever I was going through, everyone would always be like doctors and stuff, here's some Norco. And I'm just like these painkillers, like, that's something like a lot of people in the country either have or, have a greater chance of becoming addicted to. And I didn't think it was helping like the root, what I mean, cause of the pain. Like, yeah, it's supposed to help, but it's just, yeah, like you said, I don't want to be a zombie. I don't want to be dependent on, this medication.
no, and it's scary to me, like how easily you can become addicted to something like that. And to me, I would rather suffer through pain than put myself in a position where all of a sudden, like, you know, without like the choice of becoming addicted. Like, you're just trying to feel better, and now all of a sudden you have this other issue. Like, I don't I don't want to mess with that. And so I wouldn't take them. And the doctors would be like, well, you have a prescription of them. I'm like, I've told you I'm not going to take it. Like, I don't even want to fill it. Like, I don't like how it makes me feel. And so, yeah, I have started doing other things like exercising. Um, I've done research on foods that can cause inflammation in your body. So, white breads and pastas and things like that are a contributor to inflammation. So I don't, once in a blue moon, I will treat myself and have, whatever, especially if I go somewhere and that's what they're like, serving, or I don't want to be like horribly difficult. So like I'll give in. The kids made dinner a few days ago, and they made some pasta, and they used, obviously, because they just eat regular. So, and I wanted to try, they made dinner, so I ate a little bit, but other than that, like I'm really good about making sure that I'm not, eating those things, because when I'm not eating them, I feel the difference. Like, and if I can feel it in, physical places like my joints or my gut or whatever, like then I know it's helping everywhere, and so I'm very big on making sure that I'm choosing those things that help support my body. It's not always fun, but it's definitely worth it to me, because like being a parent, I want to be around. I want to see my grandkids grow up. But, well, I don't have grandkids yet. I would like to see my kids have grandkids and, watch them grow up and be part of it. And, but um, it's not easy. It's, like you have to be really mindful and like, no, I'm not going to have that, and it's not so much like, because a lot of people are like, well, don't cut yourself off from the foods that you love. Well, it's not so much like I'm not doing it to diet. I'm doing it because I know that my health needs it. And it's just way more important to me than it is for someone who wants to lose 5 pounds, you know, like my life depends on it in a sense, so.
Well, and it would be like, if somebody had a peanut allergy, even if they like peanuts, it wouldn't, you know what I mean? You can't just go, hey, have some peanuts. Don't deprive yourself, because like they know they're going to go into anaphylaxis. So,
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I like, it's exciting for me to learn about how our body works. And like one of the things I've learned on this journey is how our gut health plays a role in our health overall. I mean, from our mental health to physical health, our gut is kind of like the master control center on that. I would have never known that, before this journey of everything. And that's, it's just really fun to learn about. And then you can see like all these things, like different medicines that you take, and antibiotics, it like that screws up your gut health. And then you can get all these other things that happen, and if you can just take care of one thing, you're like at least assisting your body in functioning the way it's supposed to. So um yeah, that's one of the things, like, if anyone ever wanted to do like a one-on-one meetup or whatever, I would gladly teach people about, gut health and how, I mean, there's a lot to talk about in that, but I would love to. It's one of those things that I'm just passionate about, and I love sharing it. And so if you know anyone who's suffering from autoimmune disorders, or, like just health issues in general, I would gladly just look me up, send me an email, whatever. I would gladly like chat with you about that. So,
we talked about like what we think in our own definition of what mental health looks like and what mental wellness looks like. But and some people think like being healthy is, being thin or being this way or eating this food. But to you, what does it mean to be healthy or truly healthy?
oh, that's a really good question. So, um, I definitely think it's not tied to weight, like, so you can be a size 2 and have a million health issues, especially depending on, how you're a size 2. But I would say that like my definition of healthy would be like a complete picture. So it would include your physical health, your mental health, but I also think that um, like your social well-being is part of that. As humans, we are like we're designed to be social creatures, and um, I think for me, I believe that the rise of things like obesity and mental health issues and whatever is coming from um, a world where we are like more separated from people. Like I understand, like when my kids play video games, for example, I understand that they're talking to people on a headset, right? And they're communicating with people, but we need physical touch. And when you isolate yourself, even though you're not isolated, like you're not alone, you're not getting the same, like physical touch sends like endorphins and whatever into your brain. And that's what helps boost your mental health. And I think the like environment in our world that we're creating today, we're starting to eliminate some of those things. Like we need someone to touch our shoulder or rub our back or give us a hug or whatever. I mean, we just like we truly our body is designed to need that. And um, I think I think that the three of those things go together. So physical, mental, and social. And I think you need to work on all three of those parts in order to be defined as healthy. I don't necessarily think healthy means like free of disease. I think it just means, you know, um, like that overall picture, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. I think being healthy overall just means like not necessarily like a certain size or certain I don't know, fitting inside a certain bubble, like, like I'm, a fitness something, or you know what I mean? Like I guess like it's great if you're an athlete or you do go to the gym or things like that. And that that boosts your health and helps you, but like that doesn't mean like you're necessarily healthy if you're doing that, going to the gym, whatever, but then you're drinking beer all weekend, or you're eating chips all day. Like that's it's kind of just it's helping, but it's not, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
I read a thing the other day, actually, that just ties into that. What you just said is that you can't outwork a bad diet. So if you, no matter how much you're exercising and whatever, the damage that poor food choices, does to your body, no matter what, you can't outwork that. So like they have to go together.
yeah, and like I read somewhere that like I believe it's 80% of like of weight loss is just diet alone, like, which is crazy. Like, and how, so many people put the pressure on, like, no, work out 6 days a week and then you'll lose weight. And it's like the two have to kind of coincide here. Like, like you have to eat better, but you also have to put in more movement and more exercise to get, where you want to be and to be healthy overall.
Yeah. Chad and I were talking one day, and this was before COVID. And I was like, I think we were out with some friends, and the wife and I, we were talking, we were saying how famous people have it so easy because they have all the time in the world to exercise. And like, if I had that kind of time, I would be skinny too. Well, fast forward like 3 months and we're struck with COVID. Well, we've been home. I'm still not tiny. So it's definitely not a time issue. It is like a laziness issue. So yeah, I definitely think that we need to like just kind of change how we think about things, because I think we automatically assume, well, if I had this, then I would be this. So it's not like if I was skinny, then I'd be happy. Like you need to figure out how to be good with who you are at this exact moment, and then find ways to, make that better. And you can't just always be like, well, someday. someday I'll be happy. Someday I'll be healthy. Like you actually have to be okay with where you're at right now and find a way to love yourself and then take those steps to get to where you want to go.
And I agree 100%. And I think a lot of it too is just being resourceful. And yeah, sure, like a lot of us might not have, the kind of money celebrities have, but like you can still exercise with like stuff you have laying around, like, soda cases or even like furniture and stuff, like lifting that or doing exercises or stuff like that, just like thinking outside the box, like, maybe you can't afford exercise equipment right now, and until you get there, just using what you have around you.
Exactly. And I think other things come from like, just eliminate fast food, from your diet. And, if you can, um, like just make it a point to make more meals at home. I mean, things like that just can change. And if you say you're like, oh, well, I don't have time to cook every day at home, find one day in the week where you do have time and make your week's worth of meals and you can free stuff. Like, you know, granted, that might not be how you want to spend, a few of your hours one day, but um, if you're really trying to do best, stop making the excuses, like, and find a way. You do have time. It's just a matter of, working it into your schedule.
And even for me, like when I obviously work, and so do you, and so life can get busy and different stuff, but sometimes what I'll do is like the night before, if it's like, chicken or something, and like, let it, defrost and all that, and then, before I go to work, put it in the crock pot with like whatever it is, broth or seasoning, and while I come home, then I can just pop the lid, it's done.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, it's, if you don't prepare to be prepared, you're going to fail, like in a sense. So it's like, just take those baby steps, get right before you go to bed, pull something out, and whatever, like you can plan on, like, say Friday nights is something, like you do something regularly. Before you go and do that, take 10 minutes and be like, okay, so this week I'm going to make these 5 things. I'll make an, or these 3 things, whatever, and I'll make enough so that I have leftovers 2 days of the week, or whatever it is. You totally can, make that happen. And I don't know about you guys, but like some of the grocery stores by us are really expensive, and so like a lot of times you're like, well, the junk food is cheaper than eating healthy. So like we have found, ways, like we have a store by us called Aldi, and they actually have great vegetables and their prices are fantastic. And so it's like, we know that we can go there, and if we go shopping, so we have a big family. If we go shopping like every couple of days, we only have to buy what we're going to use for those few days, and then nothing is going bad. So we're not wasting anything that way. But it's all at a reasonable price, so we're not putting ourselves in a tight spot of like, well, eating this like out of a box. Like processed food is really bad for us. And so like we don't cook that way. We make, everything. And like I said, it just takes like some communicating and some like schedule changing and whatever, but it's doable.
And even if it's like a time thing where you're like, I don't have time to cut these vegetables or whatever, like, spending like $1 more or whatever just to get, stuff that's already cut up. And then this way you just throw it in or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like small things like that can, really give you more time and, help you out in that way.
Right. And so I think it's really about making sure that you decide what is the most important to you. Like, um, is it important to you to be healthy and to make these choices, or do you want to take the easy way and not figure out how to add that to your schedule? And they definitely make, I mean, they do enough things where they make it easier for you. And so I think it's doable. And if, again, like if people need more ideas on stuff like that, um, if you haven't followed our website, it's growaheadpodcast.com. We actually have a section for recipes and like ideas and stuff like that. So um, the website's new, but as we like go along, we'll keep adding stuff to that. But one of the things that we'll be putting in there are recipes that are healthy, but that obviously taste good, but are not time consuming to make, because again, we both work. So, and we do this and, whatever. So, we're always looking for things that, we can do. So, and we want to share those with you. So make sure that you go out there and like that. But, um, do you have advice for anyone who is just starting like a wellness journey? Like what is a good, maybe first step, or what do you think helped you in, like deciding, yes, this is what I want to do?
Um, I would say like obviously depending on like what the health issues are and when you see your doctor and stuff like that, but figuring out um almost like a pros and cons like chart of whether it's activities, food, different health issues, like okay, what's triggering this, or okay, like I notice like these foods seem to make it worse or this makes it better, and just kind of like jotting these things down and noticing like in yourself, like okay, like I see this, and making that list, and then just from there like deciding, well, wow, like this thing really affects this part, and this part really helps boost this part. And so I think it's important to like notice in yourself like what makes you feel good versus what doesn't, and from there like going to the store and even researching a little bit, like okay, like these foods help with kidney issues, or this food helps with you know this thing, and from there trying to incorporate those things and like seeing what you like. Maybe you don't like how something tastes, but it's good for you, finding another way to incorporate it somehow. So
Yeah,
like that's important.
I agree. I think that's a great idea to keep a list. So many people want to go into changes like head on, where they just want to change everything all at once. And to me, I think that's the quickest way to fail. Like, I think you have to do it in steps. So you can't decide like today I've never exercised before, I'm gonna exercise an hour every single day, and I'm only going to eat 1200 calories, and like whatever. You can't do it all at once. You have to break it down, because otherwise you're going to be like, this is horrible. But if you design a plan where you're like, okay, well, I'm going to start eating vegetables in with two of my meals a day, and whatever, I think you're going to be way more successful. And then like you said, incorporating the thing where you're making a list, and like I'm noticing that uh, my stomach isn't as upset when I eat these foods versus these foods. You're going to look at it and be like, oh my goodness, yeah, I can see that those are making a difference. And you're going to continue to want to choose those things, where if you don't truly pay attention to yourself, you're going to not realize what is making a difference and what's not. And you're just going to give up and throw in the towel. So I think that's definitely important.
And I think like too, just like because something tastes bad or isn't what you'd normally eat but is healthy for you, it's important to like not just go, well, I don't like this or whatever. Like for instance, kale, like most people have mixed feelings about kale and how it tastes, and some maybe you don't eat it like in a salad or whatever where it's out in the open like that. Maybe you blend it in a green smoothie and you don't blend it with fruit so you don't taste it, but you're still getting the benefits that way.
Absolutely. And there are so many things like that you can find, where you can incorporate it. People with little kids, you can incorporate it, but like make homemade pizza instead of going and buying pizza. Make homemade pizza and put it under the sauce, and then, or mix it in with the sauce, then put your cheese on, whatever. You can get so many different things, like ways of making those things incorporated into your daily diet. And I think that's fantastic too. Um, so um, it's just a matter of like your mindset, I think. Yes, I want to make this happen. And then you can, come up with a plan. And with the internet, we have access to so many different things, to so many different tools to help give us ideas and, um, you know, options and research on things that, if you suffer from headaches, um, and then the other thing that I wanted to say was that hydration is so important. It is so important to drink lots of water every day. Um, Water alone, if you're drinking enough water, plays a role, and increasing the amount of water that you drink every single day, you'll like automatically start noticing a difference in things. So our body just needs it to function. So definitely increase your water.
And the other thing I wanted to say was about antioxidants and all the foods that include that have those in there, um, and what it does for your immunity and like just feeling like better overall. Like, whether you're drinking that like pomegranate juice, or you're having, vegetables, or you're having, something that, is natural, that's good for you. And it doesn't, I'm not saying, be a vegan or only eat plant-based or anything like that, but, it is important to include those in those meals, and like not just, like, oh, I had, one carrot stick today, but like, really just making it a bigger portion of that in, your everyday life and your meals. And so, it's not just, wow, I'm eating a lot of carbs and just protein, and you know what I mean, just getting a good amount of everything.
Yeah, I agree. And do your research, because a lot of people are like, well, I'm gonna, do keto and be carb free. And we need carbs. We just need complex carbs, not simple carbs. And that, that plays a huge role in, how you feel. So learn the difference of what it is that you are putting in your body. Don't just be like, oh, all carbs are bad, because they're not. And antioxidants, if you've, don't, you're like, well, I hear about them, but I don't know what they are. Again, with the toxins that we're exposed to, we get things called free radicals in our body, and antioxidants help get rid of those free radicals. And when when free radicals are being eliminated from our body, they're not depositing in other areas. So I always talk about joints. Arthritis is one of like the big things that it's technically an autoimmune disorder. And by having a boost in antioxidants, you're getting rid of a lot of those free radicals, and it can help you, like it can help soothe your joints. So, but antioxidants are important for like a lot of things, and free radicals do a lot of things to our body. Like, for example, I don't know if a lot of people know, but cancer isn't something that like you um like cancer isn't a, like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's not like a physical, um let me start with this. So what it is like you get a bunch of dead cells in your body, and then those dead cells clump up, and then that's what forms cancer. So like cancer isn't like, it's dead cells. It's not like a physical thing. Like, I mean, you can have a tumor, but it's from dead cells. It's not like its own body of things. So
Right.
if you're eliminating those like antioxidants help get rid of those dead cells and help your body process, that, and get it out of your system as waste, that can help you, in the fight against cancer. Not saying that it's a cure by any means, but it definitely can help boost your system in doing what it's supposed to.
Yeah, and I agree. So many people are, you know what I mean, like aren't, don't know that information, and just, everything that like our cells and our blood and, all these things do, play a vital role in like just everyday life. And so taking care of it is huge.
Absolutely. So I will look and see if I can find some good educational resources that we can add to our website, so that people can kind of go out there and have a link or something, so that they can see what some of the antioxidants do and where to find them, like what foods are high in antioxidants, things like that, or what foods are good for reducing inflammation. And I'll try and get that on our our website. Um, so this episode will air on Wednesday. I'll try and have it out there at the same time. So if you're watching this, you can sign on and, you know, look at that as well.
Yeah, and I'll try to find any recipes that I use or have used that, help in inflammation or just general health that are just good for you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us today. And uh, we will keep getting that information out to you. If you have questions, email us at growaheadpodcast@gmail.com.
Yep, and you can catch us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud, or like Nicole said, our Gmail, and you can hit us up there with any questions or comments. But this, we will be uploading every Wednesday as usual, and
Absolutely.
this was episode 3. So
Absolutely. And as always, have courage to grow through life and not just go through life.
yes, and so we look forward to hearing from you guys and seeing you watch this in the upcoming weeks. So thank you.
Thank you.